We did a report on Monday regarding the numbers of arrests made by police being incredibly low compared to what the public would expect, where some 3 out of every 10 police constables are said to have made an arrest in a 4-year period, where the remaining 7 haven't made a single arrest. The Metropolitan Police say that this is due to there being less police on the front line who would do the arresting, and more police in roles that wouldn't necessitate an arrest. We also spoke recently about the 20-year high in crimes being reported to the police. The Met say this is due to better reporting systems and mechanisms, and more people feeling safe to report the crimes committed against them. However, I say that's rubbish, and it's more likely to be due to the police and government allowing people to report non-crimes, which will still be recorded as an offence. We now hear about at least 5 children each week being strip searched by the Metropolitan Police without even being arrested first. Although the lack of arrest is obviously the least of these poor kids' worries. LBC Radio submitted a Freedom of Information request to the Metropolitan Police which showed that 799 children aged between 10 and 17 were strip searched whilst not in custody between 2019 and 2021. It said that the majority of those searched were over potential drugs-related offences. However, just under half of that number is said to have resulted in no outcome or no arrest. Now, to be fair, no arrest doesn't mean that the person didn't have anything on them. It could simply have been a street caution. Just trying to be fair. Now, of course, race had to come into it somewhere, and reports suggest that the figures showed a huge disparity between those strip searched saying 436 children were black, 3/4 were from what they call ethnically diverse backgrounds, and only 179 children were said to have been white. Now, based on the figures alone, it sounds like those from minority backgrounds are disproportionately affected. But I put it to you that it could just as easily be that those from minority backgrounds are disproportionately committing the crimes. Perhaps. I'm not saying they do, that's just a theory. I mean, it's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility, but no doubt I will get called racist for even suggesting such a terrible thing. The last time we mentioned child strip searches, we noted that some 5 incidents had been referred to the IOPC after the safeguarding review, but that number is now said to stand at 10. Marsha de Cordova, Labour MP for Battersea, who quite rightly believes that no child should be strip searched unless arrested first, said, "Surely no child should be strip searched without then even being arrested. That's what happened to child Q, that's what's happening to countless other children, and it's wrong." Can't disagree with that. But what she is forgetting here is that all this will do is criminalise children even more by the necessity of having to arrest them in order to abuse them first. My thought is that these children should be detained only if the plot can give a reasonably articulate suspicion as to a potential crime. What we see all too often is that the police simply use the bog standard excuse, "I can smell cannabis, you look suspicious, you're in an area of high crime," and then when you question them further to explain, they give it the good old, "I'm the one asking the questions, I don't need to answer your questions, you're answering mine," or better still, just ignore and avoid the issue altogether. In the articles that I've seen about this in the mainstream media, they've reached out to people for their views. Oddly enough, the people they have reached out to were themselves black. Certainly not trying to steer a narrative now, are they? From Marsha de Cordova to former Metropolitan Police Constable Ali Hassan. De Cordova has been calling on the Home Office to annually publish strip search data from all forces as a matter of transparency, which is something, again, I don't disagree with as part of the solution, but this alone will do nothing to save our kids from police abuse. The numbers will simply be used to further push individuals' narratives. In an interview, Sadiq Khan said, "One of the most concerning things for me is the number of strip searches without arrest." So why haven't you done something about this before now then? The police service are now ensuring that every single strip search of a child goes through proper checks to make sure a senior officer looks at the case and authorises it before it takes place. And what concerns me, Sadiq, is the number of false allegations made by police in order to necessitate an arrest. That's just as much an issue as the strip searches of children, because they use their false allegations in order to carry out this abuse on our children. The Metropolitan Police have said that they are working to ensure children subject to intrusive searches are dealt with appropriately and respectfully. We have already made changes due to the considerable impact it can have on young people. Yeah, it's only taken nearly 2 centuries, isn't it? We've ensured our officers and staff have a refreshed understanding of the policy for conducting a further search, particularly around the requirement for an appropriate adult to be present. Yeah, because everybody in the police needs to be reminded that making children take their clothes off is a bad idea. I mean, it's not like it's just common sense now, is it? They say they have also now given officers advice around dealing with schools, ensuring that children are treated as children and considering safeguarding for those under 18, as well as requiring a discussion with their supervisor before seeking authority for a more thorough search and the presence of an appropriate adult. An inspector from a local command unit must now give authority before the searches take place to ensure appropriate oversight. Yet nothing could go wrong with the police oversight of police. A Merlin report must also be submitted to ensure safeguarding the child is the priority. The Merlin system contains information about a child coming to a police attention. Now, of course, a report will make all the difference. It's not like a report can be doctored, forged, or lied upon. Now, I'm yet to hear the police say that any child under a certain age will not be searched until an appropriate adult is with them. And by appropriate adult, I don't mean a teacher or a medical professional. I mean a parent or a guardian. If the parent or guardian gives permission for a teacher or doctor or nurse, then fine. But every child should be and can be kept in an observation room until an appropriate adult arrives before conducting the search. Now, every police station I've been in has an observation room in the custody area with a big ass glass door, so the police staff can see exactly what's going on in there with almost immediate access to the person if something happens, rather than looking on a CCTV camera and then having to rush through to the cells to open the cell door. I don't see why this cannot be put in place for the safeguarding and well-being of our children. It also gives the child the opportunity to have someone who knows a bit more than they do about the law, and the police's cans and can'ts to potentially argue the case before police get their hands on our youngsters.